Hi guys, it's Black History Month. As you know, we're here to celebrate the lives of black people and what kind of influence black people have had in this country. I'd say financially, economically, and politically as well. And I feel that us as West Ham United, we've come a long way to try and help the black community in that aspect, especially around the Newham borough. I think that we've done a lot in the community, and there's been a lot done as well for football. It's a touchy subject for some. I think we've all come a long way in our football careers, and the influence that we've had on like the younger generation, i.e. you've had an influence on me. I probably had an influence on you, not blowing my horn, but this is how it goes. Seeing other black people in positions of power in football as well is what we need to see more of, and I feel that we are going in the right direction to get more equality in the game, and I think West Ham pioneers that. So with me to my right, we have the big George Parris, played over 300 games for West Ham United, and Ben Johnson is here. Currently first team player at West Ham, and I really feel that he can contribute great to this conversation, as yourself, Mr. George Parris. We'll start with yourself, George. Mm-hmm. What does Black History Month mean to you?
I mean, it started in 1987, and back in those days it was just, it's Black History Month, and you never heard about it again for the whole month. So that's progress where we are now. I think it's it's a full-blown month on, isn't it?
Yeah.
Although we're black for not just a day or a month, but forever. But it's great that it gets highlighted for the month, and it gives us an opportunity to, as you say, for us to champion what we do, and obviously gives a voice to other black people out there.
I feel that we've done a lot for the country financially,
Sure.
with jobs, with keeping the country afloat in bad times as well, and we've all worked towards that, and we've done a lot in football. What does Black History Month mean to you, Ben?
I think I'm a little bit younger than both of you, so I'm still learning about the world, and I'm still learning about what it means and what it truly means to me in my heart. But I think it's a fantastic celebration from when it started, as you said, 40 years ago, in actually acknowledging how much black people have done, not just in the UK, but across the globe.
Yeah.
I think it's a focus month, but for the rest of the time it goes unnoticed. Yeah. With the icons that have lived and have walked in the same probably backgrounds as us, and have become world figures. Yeah. There's so many examples of that, so that is really, it hits hard, because it's extremely important for me, being from a West Indian background, to actually understand and actually know and have the answers about it. So it means a lot to me, and hopefully it can just continue to evolve, and more people will see. And as you see with the younger generation, was just on the Q&A, and another historical figure who is going to be Marcus Rashford, as you know. Yeah. So it's always developing, and there's always one coming out of the woodwork, which is a brilliant thing.
Yeah, well, you've touched on it, on how it should continue.
Yeah.
I think that's a very important subject, and I really think that we've always championed the community. The Newham borough is really important to us, and that's when you go out on the streets. If you go down where Upton Park used to be, go down that road.
Yeah.
There's so many different minorities and ethnicities over there that kind of makes me proud to say we've come a long way as a club, because we're touched that. I've been down there, and I've had to go into the CAF down there just to do some filming sometimes, and there's loads of different ethnicities over there, and then I get to talk to different cultures and backgrounds. I think it's important that we always that we carry on what we've been doing. So George, why do you think it's important to champion Black History Month and to continue what's already been done with black people's achievements in the community?
Yeah, I think it's vital. I think it's that month gives us an opportunity, not just ourselves but other people, to have a look and get educated and get more knowledge around the Black and Asian community. And once that month's finished, it's important that we're able to then still go out and source this knowledge. So hopefully the month will grow into a month and a half, will go into 2 months, which will grow into half a year, which will go into a whole year. But I think by getting educated, that's got to help the situation. And the more people that we can educate, then hopefully that gives them the greater knowledge that and an understanding around the Black and Asian community.
And do you think sport in general has a massive impact on what other people see and how we can go in the right direction?
Oh yeah, massively. I think that sport is universal, isn't it? So wherever you go, whether it's in England or to another country, football's a buy-in, isn't it?
Yeah.
You go to a country and each other's got different shirts on, and you start talking, whether you're black, white, Chinese, etc.
Yeah.
So I think it's vital for sport that we carry on doing that, and I think it's I think people look at us as icons, if you like, or legends, or whatever you want to call it. But by us playing and performing, that gives hope to everyone else out there.
Growing up, who was your icon? Talking about icons, who was your icon growing up, and your heroes? Who do you looked up to, and who did you aspire to, should I say, growing up as a young black boy at school?
Well, the obvious one was Pelé.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously international. What a great player he was. So
Yeah.
for you boys, you might not know who Pelé is. I'm a little bit
Everyone's
older.
heard of Pelé. I think everyone's heard of Pelé.
So on a football front, certainly Pelé.
Yeah.
I played against people like Cyril Regis and Garth Crooks as
Yeah,
well.
well, we was talking about the 3 degrees. I don't know if do you know about the 3 degrees?
Yeah,
All right,
West
so
Brom, yeah.
we're talking about the 3 degrees earlier, and that's a generation that I didn't get to see play.
Yeah.
You were, I think, were they before your era coming through? Or?
They were before me, but as I say, Cyril played against him when I was at West Brom.
Yeah.
Obviously, Laurie he
Cunningham.
went to Spain, so I
And,
didn't actually get a chance to play.
I was talking
against
about
him.
Brendan Batson as well.
And Brendan, yes, yeah. I mean, as you rightly say, they were called the 3 degrees.
Yeah.
But yeah, great players, and I suppose you look at some of the players we had at West Ham at the time as well. We had obviously Clyde Best, and, John Charles before him, and Adi Coco. So there's 1 or 2 in the mix then. Obviously now it's even greater with the amount of black players that we've got, not just at West Ham, but in general.
Yeah, as I was saying, like I'm not sure if you're going to know players like Adi Coker,
No,
John
only
Charles.
Clyde Best.
No, Clyde Best. You don't.
I've heard of Clyde Best.
What have you've heard of Clyde Best?
Yeah.
What have you heard of Clyde Best?
I've heard that he was a top player.
Yeah,
he's from Bermuda.
Yeah.
And of course, at that time, there's not much you need to know about how difficult it must have been.
Yeah.
For him and for yourself.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't want to play in that era. So talking about those names, as you said, the 3 degrees, and there's players that may have been stopped from reaching their full potential, and may have not become players and had to fall and go to semi-pro. Bracket. Yeah, exactly. Whereas now they would.
I was going to talk
push
about.
on.
I was going to talk about that because who was your icon? Who you used to look to and say, do you know what? I want to be like that guy. It don't have to be just in sport. Not sport. It could be in sport. It could be in football. It could be in just normal walk of life. Who did you look up to when you was coming through?
I think as growing up playing football,
Yeah.
as a kid in primary school, for me it would be Thierry Henry.
Thierry.
Yeah, and my dad liked golf too, so of course Tiger Woods as well.
Yeah.
So I knew about him from a young age.
Okay. Breaking barriers and doors.
Yeah, which is amazing.
Yeah.
Literally, going to Tiger Woods, he's probably one of the only black players on the tour, and to be the best player and to be revered as the best player is something that is truly special. So yeah, for me, growing up as a kid, I was aware of that. Going into secondary school as well, there was a bit more coverage on Black History Month and things like
you
that.
learn more about other people.
Yeah. And of course, people, as you said, football's universal and sport is universal. So even though of course, we need to get a good education and have a focus on the core subjects. But for history and things like that, for kids to learn, for Black History Month, there's so many, as I said, there's so many examples in sport and in life, which teachers can really put the kids and stimulate their minds to, and Black kids would appreciate that. I definitely would have appreciated that at my school, and learning from a young age and being proud from a young age to be Black, because you don't realise until you actually understand what it means and where you've come from. So that would be my take on it.
Yeah, I fully understand what you're saying there. And going back to like football icons, or just an icon in general, I used to look to people like Muhammad Ali. I used to love Michael Jordan as well. Michael Jordan was unbelievable. And I used to always not just look at footballers, but look at other people that's inspirational. Nelson Mandela. These people inspired me, and it just kind of grew inside me that I wanted to be somebody one day and have some influence on the world and leave my mark. And you always have to leave your mark. We haven't come here for no reason. We're here for a reason. And if you can influence people in the right way, especially the Black community, especially the Asian community, I think we're on the right path. And I feel that everybody needs to get on that same page, because we're not here for just to take part. We're here to leave a legacy, I should say.
Yeah.
Why do you think it's important for youngsters to have someone they have to look up to and aspire to and have and look towards and say, I want to be like him? Why do you think it's important? We'll go with you, George.
Well, I think for me, if you take my background, for example, I think it's a local lad, come through the ranks. I just think hopefully I can inspire people who actually watch me play or even know a little bit about me to say, actually, he only lived X amount, well, I don't know, half hour from the ground or whatever, but he made it all the way through the first team, and he played X amount of games, and
so local lad come good.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Especially a Black one at that.
Yeah, a Black one at that. So I think that's hopefully for Black lads around at that time looking and saying, well, actually, if George can do it, then I can do it. You know, that's the feeling behind it. So I think for me, that was part of it as well, just to keep playing games and to keep being better as a person.
Yeah.
But obviously, when I left, I played just on 300 games. So hopefully, Black boys would look at that and think, oh, actually, he's done that. Well, there's no reason why I can't do that.
Yeah.
I must be faster, quicker, whatever, stronger than him.
Yeah.
So if he can do it, there's no reason why I can't do it. So there's a little bit of that around it for me.
So that's great, because like Ben, you've got family in the game. So I say, like for me, I didn't have someone to look up to that was already in the game, apart from the ones I saw on the TV. So I used to love Ian Wright as well. I used to love him. He came to my school, so that was massive for me. In terms of role models, how important is it to have a role model for someone that was coming through like you?
Yeah, I think what George said, like just echoing that, like realising, obviously my dad's now 60 and all his era, like they're cut from a different cloth, man.
Yeah.
Like from the way, as you said, coming through in that era must have been extremely difficult, and actually still excelling.
Yeah.
So for me, that tells me that it's not impossible.
No.
It's something that you have to aspire to be. The heart, the courage, the fortitude that you have to have had back then is something that remains, and now I'm privileged enough to still be accepted more than you was when you was playing. Yeah. So, and of course, having family that have played
so we're talking about Ledley King, we're talking about Paul Parker.
Yeah.
How influential were they in your life? Not just obviously your family, your close-knit family, but how when you see that and that's in your family, in your lineage, how does that make you feel? How did that make you feel? Because I'm quite intrigued by that, because I've never, having that kind of quality in your family, that's unbelievable. Yeah. How did that make you feel, and did it inspire you?
Definitely. My mum and dad were good. Is that when I was young, I understood football, but not who the players were. I didn't really know much. Yeah. So they kept it from me for ages. And
kept it from you,
and I found out, funnily enough, when I was at my grandma, she had like a little Sabutio of like Paul and Ledley. And I was like, why have you got these players? Like,
Yeah,
I don't know,
yeah,
I
that's
don't know
random.
who they are.
Yeah.
And then I slowly discovered why, of course. And then, of course, Ledley was doing his thing and Paul
Yeah.
was doing his thing. So, and I was young, so it was difficult. I think what they did the right thing to
Keep it away from you.
to leave me for a bit and focus on themselves. And
Yeah.
it was sort of when I got to about 18, 19, when I started to get in contact with them and just give me encouragement, because still from the age of 18, it's still such a long way to go. You can make your debut at 18 and then not play for a couple of years. So it's definitely good to have those people in your family to see what they achieved. Ledley's probably regarded as one of the top
best,
top centre halves for Spurs and England.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
I had many battles with him.
injuries. Yeah, exactly. And if he didn't have as many injuries, you don't know where he would have gone. And with Paul playing for United, winning titles, and obviously being coached by one of the best coaches probably in the game, in Sir Alex, is something that you think like, wow, like you have to pick these people's brains.
Brilliant.
So yeah, it's amazing for me, and it's such a good feeling. So
that's brilliant. So West Ham United is a club with a history of a lot of black players and very, very, very inclusive. Never shied away from having black players in the squad, obviously. From the days of Clyde Best, and John Charles, to yourself in the 80s and 90s, to players like Nigel Reo-Coker, Rio Ferdinand later on, to me even, being a part of it, to now, Ben Johnson. So what makes this club so progressive more than others? That's what I'm going to try and ask you, George. What have you seen over the years? Because you've been part of you're an ambassador of the club now. You understand the history of the club. What makes this club so progressive more than others?
Well, I think for me, it's always been a family club.
Yeah.
From day one, when I walked in, I was welcomed, not just because of my colour, but because of me as a player.
Yeah.
So I think they've continued that throughout the years, and it's showing obviously now with Ben and others that are progressing to the first team. So I think that's first and foremost. They always try to treat you as a human being, which is great. And then, as you rightly say, I think we've just been inclusive and welcoming as well. I think
is that because of the area that we're in, or is it because we actually take it really seriously that we have to be inclusive?
I think it's mostly a bit of both, if I'll be honest.
Yeah.
I think they've always done it throughout the years, and as you say, obviously with John Charles and a couple of those players previously, they've done it for a long while, and long may it continue. So I think they've had a history of that, and I think it's just a welcoming club. I don't know what Ben thinks. Obviously,
well, Ben,
he's the next era.
Yeah. But, Ben, you've come through all the way through the ranks from the academy all the way to the first team. We're proud of you and what you've achieved.
Thank you.
And when I saw you making your debut, that was just massive for me, you know. And I know how much you put in and how much you love the sport and how much you want to be part of that first team. And to see you make your first team debut is unbelievable.
thanks, Carly.
What has West Ham done that you feel that made it easier for you and your route to the top? And how's the club progressed since you was in the academy?
Yeah, I think as you were speaking there, just remembering that when we had the Reebok sponsor, was when I started, 2006, 7, and it was Arsenal and West Ham had their training on the same day. Okay. Obviously, when you're 7 to 9, you can still play for wherever you want. Yeah. And I was playing at Arsenal for a bit and playing at West Ham as well, and seeing what was what.
Because you're not signed then, so you're allowed to.
And obviously, my mum and dad, you're 7, so it's just you're going there to enjoy and see what happens. And my mum and dad made that decision to go to West Ham because they just felt a warmth from parents. They felt a warmth from coaches, and that's unique. You don't really get that at a young age. And the coach who was at the time, Jimmy Hampshire and Dave Hunt and Ian Yule at the time, Trevor Lewin, they wanted everyone to do well.
They didn't see colour, they didn't see creed
no,
or
not
race.
at all.
If you're a good player, you're a good player.
It was literally how it was. And obviously all the parents got on and the boys at the time got on. So yeah, it was important for me to feel that warmth and feel that comfort from a young age, and never felt uncomfortable or felt emotions that you may do now playing. When you're a kid, you don't want to feel that. You always want to have a good experience coming through. And obviously later down the line, with the coaches that were there and that helped me, it was just, for me, a matter of enjoyment. I always just came to enjoy football. Obviously it was on a part-time basis, and then it became full-time from 16 years old, and you realise like I'm employed, so it's serious now, and I never knew I was gonna even get to a debut. So for me it's been a roller coaster, but it's been a wonderful journey, because throughout from 7 to 21, West Ham's always been the same. I've come across so many players and
it's always been a positive environment.
Yeah, and everyone's treated me the same. Everyone's treated me with respect. The day I came through the door to train with the first team and was over there, everyone treated me with respect and treated me the same,
that's brilliant.
Which is so important, and for me is helped me transition so much. So from 7 to 21 it's been the same, and West Ham's obviously been all my life, so I don't know anything else.